I literally referenced you yesterday. I was having a deep chat with someone in this building about stuff. Since you said it, it's resonated with me and I can't not think about it like on a daily basis. There's certain people in this life, and I'm one of them, that's like always like, gotta live every day better than yesterday. And then Tim dropped the, well, if you're talking like that, then that means that you didn't think you did well yesterday. Like you didn't do a good job yesterday. And like that's such that.
And, yeah, I mean this thing that you're dissatisfied with is the only thing you're ever gonna know.
Oh.
This is all there is. Right? And so
it's too early in the morning.
Quite seriously, the need to be free. The need to be free from it is what's driving people crazy.
Cool. Okay. Welcome to Talk Tennis. Today we have the T squared. Troy and Tim. Double the trouble. And
terrible too.
I mean, this could get nasty. We are going to talk. I generally am calling this form versus function, but it's going to be a deep dive. So if you've ever listened to episodes with Tim before,
I'm sorry.
We can get weird. And if you've ever listened to episodes with Troy before, we can get specific. So I feel like the blending.
Today we're going to get specifically weird.
That's what I was thinking right there.
That's going to be the name of the podcast. And then you have to deal with me trying to like make it make sense in my head on both the like technical and the non-technical stuff. And I just play tennis, so I feel like the endorphins are like flowing. And I have experiences that I want to share.
Was it a good hit?
It was a good hit.
There we go. That's
yeah.
It was a long rally.
Yes. The person that I hit with, thankfully, is like me, and we just hit for 60 minutes straight. No water. No water breaks. You don't need water.
That's not like when we hit.
I know.
We got to get the water, the changeover. We talk for like 10 minutes.
We catch up on the tee. I know. We had to hit again.
It's like
more,
a social thing.
Yeah. No, this isn't social. I bring my rackets within 10 feet of the baseline. And I switch when we pick up the balls because you're out of the balls. And then, it's fun. It's a good time. You know who I mean. You know who I hit with.
Oh, yeah.
And no warm-up. Never, ever. And it's always like first thing in the morning. So that's always fun. How are you guys? How's the tennis going?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you've been hitting some new rackets or no?
A couple.
Yeah. What do you like?
I hit the new blade.
Yeah.
The 1820.
Do you like it?
That was pretty nice.
Okay.
And also the E-Zone, that Yonex 98.
Just the regular 98?
It was just the regular 98.
No tour?
No. I didn't try it yet, but this one was, it was pretty good. Really.
Nice. And Troy?
Both really good rackets to,
I know, right?
to be hitting with,
Troy brought his emotional support racket with him today.
Yeah.
He's scared, so he brought it back up. This makes him feel safe.
It's so pretty.
It is pretty.
The glossy paint job. So we're testing this right now.
Yeah.
But it's on the website already.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a classic remake, kind of like what, Wilson had in their Pro Labs. But it's dear to my heart because I used the older version of this for
the white and red one.
Long time.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
like the 2012 and 2014, I think they were 6/195, 1820. So
nice.
I've been hoarding a couple of them, keeping them by my desk.
I know that feeling.
Talking to them at night.
Don't let me down, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like this conversation can go in so many different directions, so I'm not sure where to start it, but I think the great debate today is the difference between form and function. Whereas we have someone like Tim who believes that you can get away with hitting a tennis ball any way you like.
No.
Okay.
No.
But as long as it is functional, it works.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I would say, okay, so the big question is, right, what is the purpose of hitting a tennis ball? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start off with what's the game all about? It's one person putting it in the rectangle more than another person. That's it. That's all it boils down to, right? And then, but that never comes up. It really never comes up because we always start off with, well, this is your grip and this is your swing and this is your stance and all this other kind of really, jargon type stuff. And then you get to somebody years later, I always do years later, sometimes even in college, touring pros occasionally. What's the objective here? It's not, this isn't figure skating. You don't get points for hitting, oh, that was a beautiful shot. Stop the point. That was a 9.9.
Like style points.
Yeah,
Maybe
style
we should.
points. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not that, my suggestion is any old way doesn't happen. It's just that in my experience, the technique that matters is naturally occurring. Right? The thing that's not naturally occurring is understanding what's the objective of it all. Done.
No.
Thanks for joining us today. Thanks. Tune in next week. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like either Troy's thinking or...
No. Like, I totally agree with that, and like, I'm not going to sit here and try to debate that at all, like when you're coaching someone in the competitive tennis setting to win matches, to be a better player, in the competitive setting, it's exactly right. But the other perspective, or the one that I've always kind of grown up with, my dad coaching me in youth sports, which was football, baseball, basketball. Later, I picked up tennis, was very much fundamentals and technique, trying to perfect the body's mechanics. And I guess not to say it's a counter argument, but for me, I've always been, I'm a lefty. I think a little different, the different halves of the mind, always have had that like creative perspective, that crafty perspective. And I also, there's a big part, maybe not at the top level or competitive mindset, but a lot of us tennis players, recreational tennis players, that purely get enjoyment out of watching someone like Roger Federer hit the ball, or even a crazy guy like Benoit Paire, who has that flair and that touch and that style. For some people, that's the biggest, funnest part of tennis, not the X's and O's and points and break points and that type of thing. So that's kind of my perspective with it. And also, if you kind of go into the higher ranks, the competitive level, I think, not to say that as a coach you wouldn't coach fundamentals, just like you said, you can't hit the ball anyway, or there's certain ways that are better than others. But I think by having a great foundation in technique, fundamentals, you can reach a certain level of performance quicker or easier. And I think by not having those, you eventually will limit your cap at a certain level.
Do you think that? Would you agree?
By having certain flaws in your strokes, I think like serve and like certain ground strokes, I think at a certain level, there's ways of winning tennis matches without focusing on technique, but I think at a really high like college level and above, you're going to limit yourself at one point if you don't work on those things or try to make them better.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. And I'm also not presenting myself here as a person who knows. I'm saying I don't know. Right? That's sort of the cornerstone of my approach. I don't know. So I'm not going to tell you things I don't know.
Right.
And it just seems to me that any limitation that shows up is also naturally occurring. Not everybody can be a great tennis player. Right? And also, from a tracking standpoint, not everybody's interested in it.
Right.
Very commonly we get people coming to us for lessons and we're like, they're all tracked the same. I'm going to turn you into a competitive player. Why that assumption?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm just like, in my head, I'm thinking about people. We had a girl on our team. Like, the world is so small. She's actually related to someone that used to work here and played at Poly, who was the number one player, NCAA ranked player. But like, her backhand grip was no, you would never teach that. I mean, like, you would never suggest to someone that's how she should hold the racket. Yeah, it was incredibly effective. And like, I played ITFs and all that, and like was a very good player. She's probably still somewhere doing tennis things. But that's where in my head, where it's like, because I lean into like what Tim does, where maybe I'm just going to own it as my own way, is that like, you got to make it work in your own body. And like, if that's having a funky, like, I want to grab the racket, like having a funky backhand grip, but you can make it 10 times out of 10. Like, she did something crazy like this. Yeah. Like, it was psychotic.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. So that's where I just go.
Doesn't Medvedev have a weird grip?
his grips, his takebacks, his follow throughs are very much like give him this weird look on his shots. And one thing I wanted to talk about is like, yes, aesthetically, like certain people's strokes. We'll talk about like Medvedev, even though he's world class, and his strokes are not nearly as weird as what most people try to make them out to be, or what you might see on your public court somewhere. But talking about the player, played at Cal Poly, great player, or like a Medvedev. There's so much to the mechanics of the stroke, right? And one thing that I think is really cool that Agassi talks about, and I think we've maybe brought this up before, is that he talks about like hitting the ball and ball striking. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever I think we brought this up one time. You can do whatever you want on the take back here, there, whatever, and these weird flares, kinks in your stroke, but there's like a window, he says, of like, a foot or 16 inches or something in the strike zone where the racket face has to do something particular. I mean, you can't completely close a racket or completely open it and still get the ball in. Like at the highest level, you can have really weird strokes, but there's a certain window where when you're striking the ball forehand or backhand,
it's got to be right.
You'll see pretty much the same thing from most pros.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. I would say we sort of call that the slot.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at that spot, like universally amongst players, it's very close.
Yeah.
Right. It's just that my contingent is it can't be taught. That's a naturally occurring thing. Every ball's different.
Wait, okay. So it can't be taught. I want to lean into, I like to lurk on the Reddit subthreads or subreddits. I don't even know how to say it. Sorry. I'm such a Reddit noob. Like I've only been on there for the last couple of years. But the tennis forums and the TENNIS and the 10S. I see you guys. I see you every day. Rate my backhand. How can I improve my serve? What am I doing wrong? I'm a 3-5. Here's hitting footage. Like, what would you tell me? Like, what? First of all, what is this obsession? Because then that goes back to form. And second, how is that player supposed to improve? Because especially on Reddit, there's like 600, am I the idiot, telling this person. Like, so many opinions. Like, who are you going to, like, actually listen to? And, like, how are they supposed to figure it out?
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. And even, like, you're coaching players. You see players all the time. What would you say to someone that just wants to get better? Which, again, like, what's better? More successful, win more matches. I would assume that's what most of us want to do.
You want to take it first?
Do they need to fix their form? Do they need to play more points? Should they be playing matches every day? And then eventually it sorts itself out, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're either going to probably quit or figure it out. That's my opinion, but you guys tell me.
Yeah, and I just start off real quick, and then I want to hear what Tim says. But just like, what exactly is their objective?
Yes.
To get better, to win more matches?
And it's
strictly competitive?
Yeah.
I'm sure Tim has a great answer for
that.
Well,
my first question is, why do you want to be better?
There you go.
Yes.
You're imagining something's going to change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's a big question. And usually when if you drill down long enough with somebody, you get this idea that, well, I'll be free from the struggle. Mm-hmm. I'll be free from the doubt. People will like me more. I'll be popular. And then somewhere down that road, I won't have to worry about ending up pushing all my world's possessions in Target basket down the street. or something like that, right?
If I can get from 4-0 to 4-5, my life will be better.
Right. But you see, like, so this is an interesting point, I think, because, like, so to the idea of being better is the tyranny of an imaginary future you, right? And should you ever get to that imaginary future you will find that it too is ruled by another imaginary future you, right? And the proof of that is, like, the best players in the world are the most miserable tennis players. There's no doubt about that. They are struggle as much as anybody. They have less confidence most of the time.
Except Roger.
Even then, he just didn't. Even then,
I'm just thinking of like
it.
Andy Murray
and Djokovic.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Djokovic always comes to mind too.
And then also, just touching on that exact topic, say the person gets to where they think they want to be the 4-5 and the best player in my club or something, and then they get there and they're still going to deal with the same struggles or wanting to achieve more or still having the same outlook. And there was a video I just watched recently. I watch a lot of Kobe Bryant inspirational videos, and he talked about, like, winning and losing, and about, like, how when he won a championship or he won certain things, yes, it's great, but it's whatever. Like in his mind, it's whatever. Or losing. Do you get depressed and this and that? And he has natural reactions. He says it. But why take the winning so high or the losing so low? Because tomorrow you got to show up and you got to do the same thing again. And he was trying to like separate himself from the natural reaction, like you're saying, wanting more. And then when you get there, it's going to be, I want more, I want more, I want more, He was trying to like put himself in a mind state to.
Well, the way you said it was important, right? Separate himself.
Yeah.
Right. So, to me, when you're free from the need to be better, is the only time you're ever going to be better.
I literally referenced you yesterday. I was having a deep chat with someone in this building about stuff, and we were on. I'm going back. I'm throwing it back because this has since you said it, it's resonated with me, and I can't not think about it like on a daily basis. When there's certain people in this life, and I'm one of them, that's like always like, gotta live every day better than yesterday. And then Tim dropped well, if you're talking like that, then that means that you didn't think you did well yesterday. Like you didn't do a good job yesterday. And like that's such that.
And you're missing the beauty in 10 years down the road. You're going to be looking back like, that was a beautiful time in my life that I never really stopped and looked at what I had around me,
Yeah, I mean, this thing that you're dissatisfied with is the only thing you're ever going to know.
Oh.
This is all there is. Right? And so
it's too early in the morning.
Quite seriously, the need to be free, the need to be free from it is what's driving people crazy. And so if you can get away from the need to be better, that's when better starts to happen.
Do you know what? And because I have been I'm always actively working on it, which is against the whole, anyways. Today, you asked if I had a good hit, and I said yes. And okay, yeah, I was striking the ball well. But I didn't get mad at myself. I've been really, really trying to just like chill the F out on the court. I am like really trying not to like berate myself. I'm really trying to change that self-talk. That if you know, you know. I don't know. Tim doesn't. I don't know. Do you even have that?
And then like also I'm thinking too, like on the other end, like when you are beating yourself up or I had a bad day on court. For what?
Who cares?
Are you going to go play a tournament next month?
No.
Are you training for that?
No.
Then like go out there.
Who cares? I know.
And that's kind of
supposed to be fun.
And that's why when we first started this talk about like, winning matches, the percentages, just getting the ball inside the rectangle, and I'm thinking, like definitely, I totally agree with that. But then, people like myself, and there's a lot of rec players that like you said, why do you even want to be better? Because there's players like me who now I'm out of the competitive world for the most part. I just want to hit a Roger backhand. A lot of people just want to do that.
Right.
Go hit that stroke.
But even like if you are a 3-5 playing 3-5 USTA, and let's say you're on 2 leagues, you play twice a week. It's totally cool to just like always be a 3-5. I'm like mad respect for those people like who are just like, I love this. I don't need to get better. Like I like to win, but I also am here for like the environment, to be on the court, the exercise, the social aspect. With that being said,
right, but
it's
the why, right? It's the why.
It's the why.
The why is if I want to be struggle free, better's not, being a better tennis player is not going to do that.
No.
Right? Struggle free comes from freeing yourself from the struggle. What you're talking about. Just this is it. I'm fine. I'm fine with myself. That doesn't, and it does not mean you're not going to get better.
Right.
Right, because that's a naturally occurring process. Just like you didn't grow yourself, you didn't consciously grow yourself to this height, right?
I wouldn't have stopped, dude.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it's. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's kind of like everybody has an ability DNA too that you're born with, a range that's possible, right? And so what we were talking about in the other podcast is, I think a great deal of coaching limits that range. Mm-hmm. Right, they stop people, they stymie people from getting to that range by saying like, oh no, your elbow has to be right here, right, or you have to be like this, right?
I'm laughing only because I know.
I mean, really specific things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going if you take your foot off your own throat first, okay, now the struggle's over. Now you're just enjoying this, and then the better happens. You play it because you enjoy it, right? Or because maybe you're very driven and you want to get good. That's fine too. But it's not, the good is not your identity anymore. Yeah. Your identity is just like, I'm just a dude. You know, this we could say might be true about a guy. Can we mention names and stuff like Federer and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this might be true of him. He struck me as a guy. I never, I don't know him. You know,
Yeah.
I never talked to him. But he strikes me as a guy who's like very cool with who he is. He's comfortable in his
Yeah.
own suit. You know.
I will say what I think about Roger, which is also that he's awesome. But I think because of who he is, he also surrounds himself with people who can do the hard stuff for him, if that makes sense. So like his agent is like a very strong personality. And so like he's kind of created this world where he can just show up and do what he loves and enjoy every minute of it in that way. And kind of like, I don't know, is leaning into the good life, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems, and another guy, Mats Wilander, I know pretty well.
Yeah.
I worked with him for a while. That guy, you would never, ever, ever guess he was a number one tennis player.
Yeah. And he's just
cool with who he is.
Yeah.
I think he always was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
You know,
And
then,
you've got other personalities who like, I mean, we see like McEnroe or your
Or
you know.
lately,
Yeah.
Kyrgios.
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
how talented that guy is. How much skill. You know, his serve, the certain things that, you know, a lot of people could strive their whole life and never do.
Totally.
And he talks about, you know, a lot on the mental health side in his podcast and stuff lately, but how much, you know, he didn't love himself. You know, he didn't want to be, he didn't want to be in his own skin.
Right?
yeah,
you know.
Did you hit a ball better than that guy?
Can you?
Could
No.
it? There's
I
no
don't-
way.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
Troy was like, well, Troy like
drop
can
shot
emulate
challenge.
anyone.
Drop shot
Yeah.
challenge, you know, but no.
Did you listen to the episode with Osaka yet?
Not yet,
Okay,
no.
I listened to it this morning. It's interesting. It's because both those people, anyways, it's an interesting, and it kind of like leans into like, obviously the mental health, the where they are, because she took a break and now he's taking a break, and yeah. Anyway,
I mean, I think it can drive you crazy.
oh yeah,
To the better point, you know, the idea of better, right? I've been behind him when he's hitting balls. You cannot hit a ball better. I mean, the sound when he hits a ball, it's ridiculous. It's, like,
Yeah.
it's just like perfect, you know?
literally.
I mean, yeah, really, it's unbelievable.
No, I know.
It's really,
And then it's crazy too, bringing the gear into
Yeah, I
this
was
thing.
gonna say.
Is like he's supposedly one of the few players on tour that doesn't really weight his racket. So he plays with a E-Zone 98, and like it's pretty much stock. I think a leather grip. I don't think he changes the swing weight much. Doesn't play with a dampener, and to have that kind of sound, you know, off
Yeah, so clean and crisp.
of such a
Perfect.
it's not like he's Roger, like some of these guys, Andy Murray, Stan, that
Oh,
have
gosh.
beefy rackets where
Yeah.
you kind of get like the rackets mashing through the ball. Kyrgios is so much racket head speed and
Yeah,
just the
not and just like flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he's in the state of flow.
yeah.
The mind body. I don't know. There's a word. I want to talk about gear though, and there's a couple different ways I want to go for gear. Troy and I have been talking a lot about pro stock rackets, so we're gonna bring that up. However, I also want to talk about like gear being like rackets specifically and strings being able to help or hurt your game. And I think we see it differently because we work here. And like before I ever worked here, you could have told me like, oh no, you shouldn't be playing with that racket. And I would have been like, shut up, you don't know me. But now I see so many players playing with rackets and I'm like, is that really the best fit for them? Or like, what if you tried this and all of a sudden their game changes? And I today had an experience on the court hitting with a certain racket and was like super happy and like loving it. It's not normally one that I would like or gravitate towards. 1820, all these things. Okay, maybe Troy's trying to make me have an 1820 year.
Yeah.
I've never, but then
I think her whole life, you know, she was missing out on the fact that her swing stroke style works great with that type of pattern.
oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, you pound the ball.
But then I went
And
straight
you don't
back.
really use a lot of spin unless
Yeah, no.
you need to on the angles, and you can still do it. But
I went straight from there. I like to do like a 15-minute hit with each racket. I went to the Pure Drive Tour and I could not keep a ball in the court. And all of a sudden I had to completely change the way I was hitting. And my the way, like my flashback to college where it was like, Michelle, be more consistent. Like you need to have a 75% rally ball and you need to work the point and whatever. And I'm thinking like, I didn't have to work the point with the racket I was using before. I could just hit out. I had confidence. Anyways, so that made me like go into this whole like, oh my gosh, maybe Troy's right. Maybe I've always used the wrong racket.
But then, I just watched the Kim Kleister's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And how much Michelle was like, her, and like Kim even talked about it. She's like, yeah, I just loved it from the get-go and I never thought about changing. If anything, like if I wouldn't make the racket have adaptations or customizations, I just made them myself, And then Michelle's like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
But that's the thing. And then everyone's like, oh, why do you like the string so tight? Well, that's why I like string so tight, because that's where I can build in the control. And like for me, that's just become what I've liked. So tell me what you guys think about like how gear can actually help or hurt your game. Or do you think that's baloney?
No, I definitely think it can. I mean, in a grand sense, like if you pick up a super lightweight, if you're a pretty good player and you pick up a super lightweight racket, you cannot return a well-hit ball.
What if that's all you knew?
I think it would hold you back.
Yeah.
I do think it would hold you back.
And I was going to say that was one of like my first big points with it's really tough in say like the racket industry and like helping customers and helping people find the right racket is that right, wrong, or indifferent, when a player starts off at a young age, say maybe like Michelle when she was little or something, and they get put into a racket or, their coach recommended something and they didn't know what they were talking about, or they just picked up a racket just out of straight opportunity, didn't have anything else, maybe didn't have the funds or whatever. And then they play with it for like 5-10 years and they get so ingrained in that feel that even if it is a really bad racket for them or maybe limiting their playing ability, it's so hard to change them after that. Because you can put them in something that's great, you would think, for their game. If they hit flat, an 18-20, something more flexible, and they'll just hate it every time. And they literally have to spend like a year or two to try to transition to that racket till it feels probably normal to them or somewhat. And in most players' careers, if they're competitive and they're trying to get better, you don't have that time to just sit out and just work on adapting to a racket.
Yeah.
So that's really tough.
And it's,
Yeah, if you're that far down the road, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a guy on my team this year, and he had this is his second year playing.
Yeah.
And he had just one of those metal adult rackets.
Yeah.
Those like big 5 jobs, right? It's like cost like $10,
Titanium or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And he
There's
could not.
no grommets.
Well, yeah. Even when he lined up the ball, it would not go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so I gave him one of the rackets we had laying around. I said, "Here, just take that one."
Yeah.
Like within 2 weeks.
He got better.
Oh, it's way better.
Because he could actually
Well, yeah, you could actually, the feedback. I think the body's looking for this feedback. It's not getting it from this particular stick here, so he gets this other one, and now all of a sudden he's a totally different player. And it took less than a month.
So do you think ever, like, when there's that player saying, like, rate my backhand, what am I doing wrong, fix this? Like, do you ever think that gear could be somewhere that they should maybe, like, also consider? Like, if they're putting the money in for the coaching and... I mean, like, and it sounds silly, but like, it's right.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that feedback too. Like, not to say that, you give them, they have a cheap $30 racket that they got from a big box store, and then you give them a brand new Pure Drive and they're going to go to 4.5 to 5.0.
Right.
But the feedback, start with fresh strings. See if they can feel the ball on the strings a little better. Some players are using some cheap sin gut that's all out of position and frayed.
Been there since they bought the racket.
You put them in a new string and maybe say they are pretty decently advanced. You put them in a hybrid with a poly, and now they're starting to grab the ball. And they're like, oh, my backhand, I can work the angles easy. I can feel it. Or even just a new frame and the ball on the strings, and you get that plow through, that solid feel from a nice graphite frame like the Blade or the V-Core or anything like that. It's like, that's a good place to start. Not to say that, gear's going to take me to the Challenger circuit, or whatever. But definitely there is a difference there. And if the player has the time in the off season, has a little bit of, funding, or their parents helping them out, or even if they're adult, I think it's worth the investment of starting with the string job and then working their way into a legit frame.
Yeah.
Finding something that feels good and gives them that feedback, that response.
And demoing, I think, is super important. Actually, I don't know if I told you this. Troy and I did like a Prince demo day at one of the local clubs, and one of the teaching pros there had been, I think she was using an eZone. They're actually going to sectional playoffs this weekend, but she hit with a Prince tour for the first time. I think it was one of the 100s. Yeah, it was one of the 100s. And she like was like, wait, why is this so much easier than my racket? And like, she was like kind of obsessed to the point where she's like, Michelle, I need to get a new racket. I'm like, great, like come see us. So she ended up buying the Tour 100. Is it 290, 300, or is it 290, 305? Or
There's 290, and then the 100P is 305, and then there's the 310.
310.
Yeah.
Okay. So she bought the 310 and instantly was like, this is too heavy. And like did not like it. And then she went back and got the 290. And now she's like dialed in. But it was like, it was cool because especially like teaching pros, sometimes you're not playing a lot of tennis, you know, you're feeding a lot. But she like is on a team and she's playing a decent amount. So she just realized instantly that this was an easier racket for her. She was making more balls in the court. And then when she did get it, she got the one that was too hard for her and then instantly made the correction. So just like, and she's very knowledgeable in tennis, you know?
Yeah, weight's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right? It could be way too heavy.
And balance.
And balance. Yeah, I mean, and you develop preferences. You know, it's very difficult to, I find it like very difficult to volley with a head heavy racket. Mm-hmm. I know people who like it, but I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Or they're like Rafa, and when he goes up to the net, he chokes up like this. I was
that's
watching him practice the other day, and I know he has a pretty high swing weight based on like, the origin specs and stuff, and it's pretty close to even balance. But you watch him practice his volleys, and he's like up here.
Really?
Yeah. So he's cutting
He
off.
cuts
He's
them.
cutting off
Yeah, he
the
makes
swing
it
weight.
maneuverable. That's so interesting.
Yeah, and he doesn't use an extended length racket really, but yeah.
Okay, well, so the next topic on gear, we wanted to talk a little bit about pro stock, pro rackets. It's become, I mean, like, okay, yes, it's not a secret. There are pros playing with rackets that us, mere mortals, cannot get access to. Period. The end. However, I will die on this one. There are pros out there, maybe not in the top 25, that are using rackets off the shelf. With that being said, are these pro stock rackets really that magical that A, that's why they're in the top 25, or B, someone that is a 3.540 that gets a hold of it is going to instantly become a better player?
I don't think so.
No. But the mystique.
Sorry.
I think it's the mystique that like
they have something we don't.
You know, maybe a Novak or a Murray can get these, you know, whether it's an older model frame or a custom frame, and then, you know, say some of these brands might tweak with the layup. That's the thing that's really mysterious about pro stocks. Whether, you know, a lot of pros, they're not necessarily using something that was never invented or never brought to market. It's a lot of times just older retail.
Yes.
And they're kept in the vault and brought back or
Yes.
whatever. But the layup thing, that's one thing that I think kind of is the mystique, or these people on the message boards, oh my God, he has the old Prestige or the old Radical from 20 years ago, but it's got this custom layup where Chris, if you watch the video when he went to I believe it was the factory in Kennelbach, and they talk about layups. They talk about how they lay the graphite to make it softer here, stiffer here. They tweak the angles of the sheets that they use of the graphite. And so, you know, the fact that these people get caught up like, oh yeah, he's using the old Radical, but it's softer than the retail or whatever. Like say we have the old classic head rackets, like we had the Head Pro Tour 2.0, which is like a original predecessor, the one that came before the Prestige, the blue one.
Right.
And it came out to market, and when we did the stiffness ratings, it was like in the low 60s, like mid to low. And everybody's like, oh, that's not original Pro Tour, what is it, the 630 or the 280 or whatever it was back then. Because those were all like 57 stiffness. So it's a different layup. And yeah, maybe it is. But I remember the first time I hit with it, and I was like, oh, this plays pretty good. But if it was any more flexible, I probably wouldn't like it. It'd be like completely dead.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're just so caught up in like, oh, I want the one with the Tworon in it from 1998 that Guga hit with, you know.
It's
type of
we want
thing.
what we can't have.
Yeah.
There's some people pretty much obsessed with this stuff too.
Oh, obsessed.
You know, they're like,
And I mean, I to a certain extent, I kind of get
Yeah,
into the
he's obsessed. No.
into the
Sorry,
specs
Troy,
and
we're
all
talking
that.
about you.
But that's why I brought this today. You know, it's like a remake of a 6.1 that I used to play with, and it's great. Like the stiffness, we just spec the stiffness on these, and I know they've done a couple remakes, and there was one where like the average stiffness on them was like 67,
Yeah.
and that's a little high
Yeah.
because I know like the K Factor 6.1, the one that Granville used to use, was like 68 or 69. I was like, that's a little much, but these ones. Me and Wolf spec'd a bunch of them, and
they're
they're like 64, 65. So it's like perfect. Like I like the fact that it's like a little softer. And then supposedly, I don't know, I haven't cracked one of these or cut one of these Wilson Pro Lab rackets open,
Yeah.
but I know like a lot of the Pro Lab or Pro Stock rackets that they would give to their touring pros
Yeah.
are foam injected.
Okay,
And you'll see
yeah.
that with a lot of pro rackets and even some of the retail stuff like
I was
Technofiber
gonna say
and
Technofiber.
Dunlop. They both do foam fill frames, Solinco as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hit with this, it's like, oh, it's got that mid 60 stiffness. So it's got that, pop to it, but it does feel very like shock absorbing. And I think there quite likely could be some foam inside these frames here from the Pro Lab. So I think that's kind of cool.
I was going to fun fact you guys that the racket that I played well with was indeed a Pro Stock racket. I'm trying to see, and it's a racket that I normally would not necessarily like be like, oh my God, you guys, I love this racket. However, I'm asking what the stiffness is just out of curiosity to see if the stiffness
Yeah.
had changed a little bit. If I actually would assume it would be a little stiffer than what the inline racket says, but that's, yeah.
But as an 1820, you were also liking and playing pretty well, at least from what I recall, with the new V9
The blade, yeah, I like that racket.
Or even the Dunlop 1820, the CX, which is a 95.
I like that one too.
If we were to customize that one up to the spec of the Pro
I
Stock
like this
or
one
whatever.
too. What's happening? Except then I go back, I know, right? Except then I go back to the RF 97 and I'm like, why would we ever leave this?
Yeah.
And just, yeah, everyone out there, you had a chance to buy the RF 97 and play with what Roger plays with. You had your chance. It's off the market now. All sold out. Sold out. I have all of them.
Ow.
he didn't use that racket though, did he?
Yes. Oh my gosh. See?
Really? That was
You're
off.
part
He
of
was
the
off the
problem.
shelf.
No, different layup.
Wait, and then like we won't do it because we don't have the time, but don't even start about the paints.
Oh, really?
The different paint feels different. And like Troy loves a glossy racket.
Lately.
Versus, like, can you feel a difference?
It's hard because not too often do you get to hit the same exact racket in two paint jobs.
That's true.
But the trend of like some of these glossy, like the Pro Labs, like the Ultra Pro and this, or what else has come out lately that's like a glossy finish, they have a,
Yeah.
certain feel, but like unless you're able to hit the same racket with the same layup and the same specs with like 3 different paint jobs, it'd be hard to make that, claim.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because you can feel it in your left hand, or your right hand?
Oh, you mean like the
Chris does that. Chris
Yeah,
does
'cause
have
when you-
that
when you-
comment.
It's like a very noticeable difference in feel.
yeah.
Like I know, for example, if you give me 2 rackets of the same weight, similar rackets, right? Same weight, but one has a very thin beam. It feels more maneuverable to me.
Like it cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels that way because I can feel it in my hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm weighting in my hand, and it just feels more maneuverable.
Yeah.
It's not. I know it's not, but it's a weird.
Yeah.
I know Chris always talked about that with the Pro Staff 85, the
Yeah.
Sampras racket
Yeah.
when we play with it. Like it has a heavy spec, but like the swing weight and the really thin beam and the smaller compact head, it just, it kind of came through the air differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't think about drag and that kind of thing, but when you play with a big, chunky, super thick frame and compare it to a mid-size, even if the mid-size is heavier, there's just something there. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I don't know how real that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been like.
I don't know.
If you could even test it going
Crawford?
through the air. Yeah,
Let's just bring it back. Thin beam, small head size, short. It's already, the shorts are already coming back, man.
Why not?
Why
know,
not?
The middle's the middle. Doesn't matter how big the head is.
Right?
Yeah.
in a slightly different conversation about gear, I wanted to ask you to, if you can think back of a technology that really stood out to you that actually like seemed to be like, Troy's smiling.
Troy's ready.
I'm spinning. No, let's get to this question, and then I'm spinning on another question. After that.
So like a lot of times, we had a comment the other day about like a certain brand's technology has been the same through the last like 3 iterations, and it gets confusing, and they use these words that mean nothing to the consumer, and like hopefully you can feel the difference between this generation compared to the last one and the one before and the one before that. So there is a racket that's probably going to come up, but has there been anything that's like stood out to you that's like, yes, this technology like felt different and to me felt like an improvement, so like would help me play better?
First ones that I just talked about with the foam fill stuff. I think when Dunlop started doing that Sonocore Infinergy on their rackets, I think that was really good.
Yeah.
And I also like to shout out Dunlop too, because I think they get overlooked a lot, and they have some really good rackets. It's just they don't have a ton of tour support.
What was cool about that technology is when we got presented it was they showed us what it looked like.
It looked like Adidas Boost.
Yeah, and so that's always been a very visible like connection, which I think is cool too.
But that, when they incorporated that, and then Technofiber too.
Yeah.
When Technofiber started doing, I forget what the name is of their technology with the foam.
That's just the
it's
shape.
not the RS, is the beam shape. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's also another injected in the hoop like a foam.
I got you. I'll get it. I'll bring it up. Let's see.
Something inside? Like on the TF40?
Isoflex? No. That's ISO. Foam, T-Fight has been injected with foam, giving it a wonderfully solid feel.
Maybe they just call it like a foam injection. Yeah.
Period.
But I think those 2 rackets were really well improved with that addition. What about you? Anything you noticed, Tim?
Tim, like, no, Joe, like you.
I just pick up a racket.
Exactly.
It feels good.
Sometimes I'm like, wait, whose racket is this?
Yeah.
He's got like some old ones in the shed, and he'll just grab them.
Oh, the old, like there was a Prestige. It was the one that it was red. It had the silver here and here.
Old,
yeah.
Oh, I think it might be like UTech IG or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
I love that racket.
Yeah.
Well, UTech IG seems to be a popular technology that comes up a lot with head that people like really resonated with. DR was what I was thinking. The E-Zone, the DRs, everyone like loved that technology.
And AI came
and AI
and DR were great. Going back to the older head rackets, I think from like Microgel to UTech IG, really, really good filling rackets. And then when they jump shipped and they went to the first generation of graphene, not going to say it was bad or anything. It was
different.
Definitely noticeably different. And I think they gradually refined it. And I know they have all these crazy names now, Auxetic 2.0 and stuff like that. And but I think the head rackets have definitely gotten back to really good feel with the way they're infusing the Auxetic and all that stuff. What's the other one? Not Auxetic, but they're
on head.
Is it the spiral fibers? Are the same thing, or is it
I can
on the current ones?
It's Auxetic 2.0, right? And then it pairs with, hold on.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name of the other part, but.
The technology. Auxetic 2.0 to the layup. Speed Pro 360 plus. Graphene inside. I don't know. Which racket? That was the head Speed Pro.
The new one?
Yeah, the newest. Let's see. Boom? Does Boom have it? I don't know. That's the thing that's tough is sometimes Morph Beam, that's Boom's beam.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you see these words and it's hard to like understand what that means or feels like.
Right.
Like, I don't know. So I'm like, oh, you lost me with the tech, but
yeah, I remember like those, and then like going back through Wilson, to be it like the Encode, K Factor had some good rackets. K Factor in general was a little stiffer. Encode was, good feel. Then they went to like BLX for all those years, and most of the BLX frames were good. And then I know not everybody disliked it, but like when they went to the Countervail, it was very like
muted.
You liked it or you
popular.
didn't. Yeah. And then I think lately they've gotten
back
pretty good with the feel of the racket. So.
Yeah.
A lot of times the technology is just like something small that they, will tweak inside the frame or the layup. As far as like big technologies, I mean, Prince had the holes. They still do. They still have the ports on some
that's
of
a
them,
big deal,
which is
yeah.
very much a different feel. And it,
Also very gravitating. Like you
Yeah.
either like it or you hate it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
and then there's the extended length rackets. That's a physical.
Those are
Not
kind of
necessarily.
back. That's a little bit back now, right?
I think so. I think us as Tennis Warehouse and the playtest team have kind of
yeah, we've revived it.
pushed that with some of the brands, and they've kind of responded.
Yeah. And now Slinko has two 28-inch rackets.
Really?
Yeah. I think they're fun. I don't know if they're realistic. But again, what's your objective? If I'm not playing matches, which I'm not, and I just want to have fun and blast the ball as hard as I can.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Hitting a 28-inch racket is really fun.
And that's another thing too, the extended length, that's kind of part of the pro stock, where it's like something
Oh,
that
yeah.
any pro can usually get from their brand, even if they don't make it like as a racket on the market.
Because don't the rackets come out 28 inches and then they can
or
cut?
longer. Sometimes they come out like 29 or 30
Yeah.
and they chop them down, or 29 probably, but they cut them down to what they can chop them to what they want.
And a
then-
lot of pros have like slightly extended, it sounds like, from what I've heard, allegedly.
Does anybody serve with one racket and return with another?
in their
Bring
back,
it back.
in their
I
back.
don't know if it
I
ever
mean-
happened.
Right? I mean, does that ever happen?
Okay, well,
When you
which
serve-
racket would you serve with and which one would you return
Serve with
with?
a long racket.
Which one? Solinko. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd serve with the long racket and return with the.
Just go grab it real quick without like
Dude,
That
Yeah,
would
just
be
trick-
so funny. We should
just-
do it.
Yeah, just like.
just grab it like by your bench and
Well, they change racks all the time.
yeah.
Right.
Because you could do it on the
Oh,
changeover,
You would play a whole service game. I thought you
whole
meant
ser-
like literally
No, no.
serve and
Yeah,
then
no,
switch
yeah,
racket.
like a Swiss Army knife.
I was like, let's
And then a
see-
different woman to get
let's
to the
see,
net.
Tim.
Yeah.
I got one
Hey,
in
I
my
serve
left
slow
hand.
enough. I serve slow enough to do
One in
that.
my right hand. I was going to say you can't serve very fast. Wait, that would be so interesting.
I don't know for sure.
Because they use different.
I know they use
string
different
tensions.
tensions.
Yeah.
I don't know if they use different lengths.
I don't think so.
Some of the
I
some of the
don't
pros
know.
have the rackets like numbered and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it's so weird because that's not weird. I feel like the pros like all want everything to feel the same.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I'm like one
that
of
checks
those
out.
that like I want options, man. I want a racket with a 330 swing weight, a 333, a 336, a 339. Go ahead.
Well, especially as the match progresses, right?
Yeah.
I remember that story about Gonzalez drilling out his rackets.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He drilled holes in his rackets. He was playing Wimbledon. He was like 40 years old, and he was playing, I think, maybe Charlie Pasarell.
Okay.
And it was the longest match until that other match recently, a few years ago. It was the longest match. It was 2 days, right? And Gonzalez being older, he knew that he would tire, and so he drilled out holes. It was a wooden racket
make it lighter?
Yeah, he drilled out holes, and then progressively, and then he covered them with wooden dowels, so you couldn't tell.
What?
Yeah, and then as the match went on, it was, it was like a 6 or 7 hour match, something like that. I don't remember.
He just asked for a drill.
No, he did it at home.
Oh.
He prepared for this, right? And then he would, as the match went on, he would grab different rackets, and then he won.
Just remove some weight, you know.
Yeah.
Variety is the
So
spice
yeah,
of
you have
life.
different swing weights. As you,
That's cool.
Get in the
See,
fifth set,
that's
you're
my
like,
vibe. I need something. I need to fix whatever.
I got a thought. We're
Yeah,
talking about,
let's
like,
hear it.
As soon as you brought up the serve with one racket, return with the other.
Okay.
Not equipment change, but I have, with the modern game, things progressing. I've seen like some videos of some kids that have been pointed out that are like world class players, and I forget the names. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 of them, but there was a junior player that was highlighted that plays with a forehand on both sides, a right-handed forehand and a left-handed forehand, and some I think I've seen serve on different sides. So maybe what are your thoughts on that as like the game progresses, and also
Little
Shohei
Mo. That's a
Ohtani.
Little Mo,
I was
right?
gonna say,
there,
and
there
also-
was a pro coach that I was following, and he was talking about, there's a constant debate about the one-handers, and lately in the last like 6 months or so, when there was no one-handed backhand in the top 10 for like the first time.
Until Dimitrov, right?
So they were talking about the pros and cons of the one-hander versus the two, obviously, and we could go into that. But the main thing he was talking about is the return of serve, and he says that he thinks maybe one day there'll be players that use the two-hander just for the return, and then they play the point from the baseline with a 1-E. But they stick with the two hands on like the return to serve only. There
Interesting.
might be like some hybrids like that. And I mean, I kind of thought it was cool because like during reviews and stuff, like I have like 5 backhands, you know,
Yeah.
like I'll hit the slice, I'll hit the slice drop shot, I'll roll it with 1, I'll roll it with 2, you know, like
And then everyone's like, when did Troy switch? And you're like,
Well,
it's
5 minutes
all
ago.
here. Yeah. I got it all, man.
1, it's like I just like having fun. 2, I like being like, oh, I can hit any shot in the middle, you know, in the book. But yeah.
That's interesting. The 2 forehands thing is blowing my mind a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's old school. That's a little Mo, right?
Yeah. I
Moore
mean,
and Conley,
yeah.
both sides, right? It was not that uncommon
Yeah.
in the 1920s, I think. Luke Jensen served equally well with both right and left hands. That guy.
Oh, yeah, those guys were
That guy was
handy.
amazing. His left-handed serve was. His right-handed serve was amazing. His left-handed serve was amazing, right? I always took the two-handed dominance as because we start kids so early now, and they can't swing a one-handed backhand,
Yeah.
right? So I always figured if they started a little bit later, and were just sort of let go, they would, because there's an aesthetic. To your point, there's a one-handed aesthetic.
Yeah. But I think even Roger said, didn't he say in an interview, he's like, if I taught my kids, I think this was a while ago.
What did he say?
He would probably teach them the two.
I mean, I'm thinking I love
could you do
hitting two-handed backhands. Like, you can just mash the ball in a different way that you can't mash the ball with a one-hander.
Yeah, you can. You've seen Stan?
Oh yeah,
That's true.
this is another thing. I up until a few years ago, I would have bet any amount of money that you could not hit a one-hander
That's
harder than a
As
two-hander.
two, yeah.
And then I saw Lubicic. Remember Lubicic?
Yeah.
I saw him at Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! He hit it backhand, a one-handed backhand. It was over 110 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
if you think of the biomechanics, you can actually get more whip
Yeah.
and bigger range of motion with one. The two hands, especially for, I mean, like me, but like you watch Agassi and he's very like, he's got the big shoulders and like he doesn't get a lot of range. It's very quick and snappy, But the problem is when you get outside of that wheelhouse, like that ball that's right on the tee up here, the return, that's when the one-E's tough, But like right here, you can get, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
a
There's
lot of
less
racket
room,
speed on the
room
one.
for error on the two hands, I think,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah. But
yeah, you can have a bigger swing arc with a one-hander.
Yeah,
Right,
more
and that's more
range.
racket energy at
Yeah.
the end. They're usually a little bit liable on high balls,
Yes.
right?
But so are two-handers.
Yeah.
No one wants to no one wants
Well, yeah,
to
that's-
kick
okay, that's
serve
also
to your
true.
backhand.
Yeah, that's a universal problem
Yeah.
in tennis is what to do with balls above your shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. That is a universal.
Exactly.
Unless you're Murat Safin or Joe Songa and you do
Just
the
hit it
jumping,
as hard as you
the
can.
jumping
Yeah.
one, boof,
Yeah.
But what about the hybrid, the return with the two, and then play with a one-handed crafty style, like have that variety, but then the
Why why not? I mean, it's just like, are you? So winning is so important at such an early age, right? That nobody develops. Well, not nobody, but I've never seen anybody develop the requisite fluency to pull that off. Right? You're just, if this works, don't fix what isn't broken. Let's just go, right? And then somebody might have an artistic, and we've talked about this in previous casts, right? This, to me, it's art, but always people are stepping on the art with the winning, right? We don't
No,
have
they're
time.
just stepping on the art with their opinions.
Well, yeah, we don't have time. Well, okay, back to what you said earlier about rally
Sorry.
balls in college, right? You need a rally ball unit. Why do you need that? Why does somebody have to put
Yeah,
that
I
in your
just hit
head?
the ball as hard as I can into the corners. I don't need a rally
Yeah,
ball.
why don't you just, and so, we've coached together before. Like if I'm coaching somebody, just show me how you want to play, right? Forget about everything else.
Well, okay, that goes back. This goes back to the form versus function, and like this is where Troy would say that's technically wrong, and I would say, but I can do it. My backhand, I was taught to hit open stance. SoCal, that's what we did in the 90s. We did open stance, right?
King Richard, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's go. So for the longest time, I fought. Okay, you gotta be open stance on your backhand. My body does not want to go open stance on my backhand. It does not feel right. I am crossing my right foot over my left, and I am hitting my backhand. Does it look right? No. Is it most effective? Maybe not. But for me, yes. And that's what we're doing.
But like,
Okay.
there's so many other parts of your backhand that are like amazing. Like
I
the
thought you were
way,
gonna say that
like
are
no,
messed
like
up.
no, like the way your
Yeah,
two
let's not
hands.
stop there.
No, like the way your two hands work together.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah.
left hand, the way you get it to like come up and get the topspin when you need it, but the drive, so you can get the left hand
Troy
drive.
sees my backhand.
But the one that really
know.
I like, is, and I remember it started coming out. What review was it? I think it was the EGA racket.
Okay.
The EGA, remember the first EGA tempo?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm playing a little more crafty with
Yeah,
this kind of like
'cause I got the
EGA.
angles.
And you started working the roll, the backhand
the
roll,
roll.
cross
Oh,
court
yeah.
with the
Should I play
topspin.
more doubles?
And I was like, oh, I love that about Michelle's backhand. Like when you start using the spin plus the drive, you know, so that
I
you
see
can
you.
say, you know, your stance, and yeah, maybe it's not great for your hip or your
Yeah, I
knee,
know.
you know, but like,
This is not
there's so many
technically
things
sound.
going good here.
That it
Thanks to
saves
Robert.
it.
Thanks to Robert
Thank
Lansdorf.
you.
No, I'm just kidding.
Shout out.
Shout out.
He's probably like, I didn't know.
Yeah, that it's like,
He's like, that forehand? Yes, that's fine. Backhand? Nah.
and then there was like, I remember one time we did a video, maybe it was on someone's phone or something, or maybe it was when we had PlaySight, and we recorded, I think we were hitting, and then we got the camera to flip. So
Yes.
Michelle was a lefty, and I was like, dude, I never noticed it till it went lefty, but I was like, like a lot of your shots were just like Kvitova.
Kvitova.
I was like, damn, Michelle looks just like Kvitova.
It was
but
crazy.
I didn't notice it until she turned into a lefty, you know?
And I've gotten that before, like, oh, like, you play like Kvitova. And I'm like, no, well, I like her, so.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I don't
okay
think
with
nothing's excluded, right?
that. No. I don't know.
Well,
is
I
it?
mean,
But
the
no, it is for certain people.
With the stepping across, right? So I always figure, like, when you don't have time, when you're arranging your feet to hit a ball and you don't have time, you just go with what you got,
Right.
right? It's like a crisis. But when you have time, you
Fight
want
or
to,
flight.
you would like to step in as much as you can.
Yeah.
But when you're on the move, specifically like on a backhand, right, and you're stepping across yourself, then it requires an extra step.
Right.
That takes you out of the court. But there's ways to recover for that if
No,
you know
yeah.
it's there, right? And also, it's a bit of a liability on clay, right? It's very hard to slide that way. But then I'll remind you that Borg won about 6 French Opens doing that.
Probably could have had more, huh? Shoot.
Yeah, one year there was a players boycott. He missed 1 year because there was a boycott of the French Open,
Crazy.
right? And then I would take him, like, with modern technology, pound for pound against pretty much anybody, you know, to this day.
That's another podcast.
Except for that guy from Mallorca, right?
Well, that guy's great. I mean,
That
yeah,
would be a
I mean,
fun match to
we're an
watch. Did
Did
amazing
he
match.
lose today, though?
He did.
Oh, but we're saying best at
Yeah, I'm not.
height.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, you know, you look at the athleticism. I mean, Borg was incredibly fast, as is Rafa. You know, I mean, there's not like a great difference between them athletically.
Although I just saw a video.
Did you
Not-
really?
Not debunking it.
Okay,
but I
good.
saw a video. It's a coach. I think he's down in San Diego or Vegas, one of the two. And he reposted a video from like way back when I think Borg was still playing, or maybe it was that little after. But it was like the top athletes of the time, and they did like a sprint. It was like Borg, Pele, or one of the guys, the soccer players, and then Gretzky and someone else.
Gretzky's fast?
Gretzky smoked like
yeah.
the other dudes.
Super
yeah.
fast, yeah.
It was surprisingly awesome.
Wait, does he also play tennis? Why do I feel like he probably does? I feel like there's weird hockey crossovers.
Right.
I don't
know. Well, no, Corda, he didn't. Was the mom? No, I think I forget. Was she a golf or tennis too?
I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
It's like if you're an athlete, you're an athlete sometimes. Well, I hate to wrap this up because we could keep going. Actually, maybe like we'll finish this at the pub, as Chris would say.
Oh, and then I just had a funny
yeah,
little thing. I was
no,
thinking we're talking
do
about
it.
form versus function when
Yeah.
it comes to
Form.
coaching tennis players.
Uh-oh.
How about if you were form versus function if you were teaching someone how to string a racket?
Oh.
Now you gotta have the beauty, the you know, are you a pusher or a puller? You know,
Hey, listen.
Electric or manual.
do
You
it,
gotta-
do it right.
Well, there's that, right? But you also, when you're dealing with like, say, a natural fiber like gut,
Or shape string.
yeah, you got to go some of those shape strings too, because you want to string them flat. You know, like and so in order to keep the tension neutral, you go, when you weave, you go left over right on one way, and then right over left on the other way.
So he's
Right.
getting into the
Yeah.
it's form now. He's getting
Okay,
serious.
that's actually another podcast.
I don't care how you look when you do it. You better be pinching that gut.
Yeah,
too
and
tight.
I want you stepping in.
It's all different now.
It's my way or no other way. Oh, that's funny. Well, thanks you guys for hanging out and chatting about all of the things and doing this.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
would love if you guys could let us know what more you would like to hear us talk about. And we're going to do some more fun stuff and highlight more gear and more philosophies and more coaching and all the things. And that's it. So
Yeah, let us know in the comments what's better, good tennis or pretty tennis, or both,
or both. Yeah.
or none of the above.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments
Yeah,
section. And happy hitting. Go have fun, do your thing, and keep posting on Reddit. I'll be watching. Okay. Bye.